Hi, it's Kurt again from Le Connect, and we are proud to welcome Craig to our podcast. And I think we're going to leave it to Craig to tell us what this is all about.
Kurt, it's such a privilege to be here. And first of all, just your shirts, what you guys do, your equipment, fantastic.
Thank you.
I head up an organization called CDR Equipping, who have now got all our kits from you. And we're just excited about being part of this space. And we've got some exciting projects. As an organization, we love young people. We want to see people flourish, succeed. And that's my experience of working with you guys as a company here. You just want to see communities flourish and do the best they can do. So a great privilege for us as CDR Equipping to be part of this discussion with you and just talk about how we together transform communities.
No, that's awesome. That's what I, from the bottom of my heart, want to see the community is work together. And I find that a lot of it is about wealth and do you know who I am? It's not about that. It's about encouraging and helping people, for one, and attached to that is the organization.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had the privilege of meeting you via one of the clubs that we manufacture the clothing for, and you came to me and said, this is what you'd like to do. And when I heard what you'd like to do, I was like, definitely, we need to interview you and find out more about what you do and who you're helping in going forward. So I'm going to hand it over to you. If you can explain basically what you actually do for the youngsters out there.
So for us as an organization, we work with young people. We look to work with the most amazing young people. And like you, when we look at a community, you looked at me coming in and you realized I don't know what I'm really asking for, but you would guide me to produce something that is really excellent. So we'd look at young people, we'd look at people in communities and say, we think you've got incredible potential. We look at an asset-based approach. We look at an appreciative approach. What's best? What's great? And so when I look at young children going to school, when you look at the stats in South Africa today, they say that over 1 million children right now are going to school without proper school shoes.
Wow.
And I said, how do we make a difference in that world? And we came across a product that Netcare have produced. So Netcare and Adcock Ingram have got together and they take the plastic from drip bags.
Okay.
And recycle them. And there's an amazing woman, Delani, who's the general manager of this project, supported by a whole board from Netcare. And they take this, and I've been into the factory, they take the plastic and reproduce it into the most amazing school shoes. And these shoes are a product now called My Walk. They are exceptional quality. And so I thought, how can we raise funds and create support so that we move the needle for the 1 million children? To date, Netcare and the My Walk project and Adcock Ingram have been able to supply 400,000 pairs of shoes. So we're 600,000 short, but there are more children coming to the system every year. And so I said, what do I do? And you know, it really is, it's about the one. So I just put up my hand and said, okay. And I spoke to our community in the West Rand. We're part of a group called Love Muldersdrift, which is part of a national initiative called Love Cities. And Love Muldersdrift with CDR Equipping and Love Cities just put it out to our community, the Syringa Park Estate area, the Avianto Lifestyle Estate, and people in our community just said, we'll sponsor shoes, we'll do this. So that's happened at the beginning of the year. So we were able to supply about 1,200 pairs of shoes at the beginning of the year. But now it's winter. Can you imagine walking to school barefoot in winter? I don't think I can begin to imagine what that's like. And having your feet freeze.
Now that you say that, when I was a youngster at school, I had the privilege of going to a place called Felton Flay. And they teach you to be hardcore. And we had to undress in June in Escort and walk 10 meters into the water. That was torture. So I can imagine these kids having to walk to school and you don't have shoes.
So you're walking every day like that. And so how do we shift that needle? And again, so I'm just one person. So I put up my hand and said, okay, miraculously, I entered 2 oceans. Now, I've been a non-athlete my whole life.
Wow.
I was always the fat kid in class. Mm-hmm. And so, when you went to the zoo and you went past the elephants, the other kids would say, there's Craig. So that's me. I was the prop. For health reasons and choices, I made a choice. And a year ago, I started with Run Walk for Life. I entered 2 oceans and I got in. My athlete friends that didn't get in were like,
wow.
Like, this is not right. How did you get in? You're a non-athlete. But I got in, but I said, let's make something of it. So I said, I'm going to run 21 kilometers most of the way. I'm not committing to all the way, but a lot of the way. And a lot of the way, I'll run that so that we can raise funds. And even if I can run that race to raise funds for 1 pair of school shoes for a child, there's one difference. And just last week, a young man phoned me, one of the young guys in our area, Mishak, and said, Craig, do we have any shoes? These are the sizes. And I said I did. His brother had come across 2 children walking to school right now without school shoes, going to school.
Wow.
And as they were walking to school without shoes, he said, can we help these kids? So those children are walking to school today with brand new shoes, the best quality that they can get, walking to school in those shoes. My Walk. And those are shoes that are made with a real soul. And so there's a heart behind it. And so I'm saying if we can raise funds for thousands of pairs of shoes. So I'm running 21 kilometers saying, will you sponsor me or sponsor this run? 1 pair of shoes per kilometer, 21 pairs of shoes. And if hundreds of people do it or 1 person does it, that's fine. And so that's the mission. And then the other thing is I'm inviting other runners that are running to say, join me.
That's
and
awesome.
So however many people want to do this for My Walk shoes, Love Cities are saying we want My Walk shoes in all 10 of our Love Cities movements. We want not one child in our entire region on the West Rand to go to school without proper school shoes. And so what's Love Muldersdrift going to do? But then other organizations like yourselves have come on and said, how do we back this? And by producing this kind of discussion, it make people aware of it. Other companies have come in, young company called Sonics, Riverstone Lodge. The My Walk guys are fully behind it. And many other companies are coming in. School groups are coming in and saying, how do we support this? And so it's really not about me in any way. It's saying, let's get shoes out there. Hundreds and hundreds of pairs of shoes for every child.
No, I think that is awesome. Just a little bit like when I was younger, I lived in a colored community. And what you're saying, yes, there were kids that didn't have shoes, but not as bad as you're explaining it now. And I would have thought that 40 years later, that everybody has a pair of shoes. And now you've just brought it to light that there are kids out there that don't have it. Yeah. And I have to commend what you're doing is awesome. And I will give you the full backing that I can give from our side and awareness to make this a success going forward.
And the amazing thing is what Netcare and Adcock Ingram are doing with My Walk is they're producing those shoes for 35 Rand a pair.
Wow.
And the children that we've got feedback from, the shoes are great for wet weather. They're durable. And when they're worn out, they can come back and go back into the recycling and get made into shoes. So from an environmental perspective, it's fantastic as well. So it works at every possible level. So that's very exciting. And, I think the million children is not a thumbsuck. It's a researched figure in this nation. And if we can shift that to not one child in our nation, would be incredible. I love coffee. And so I can't even get a cappuccino for 35 Rand anymore.
It's true.
Now I can get a pair of brand new school shoes. It goes from children's size 9 through to adult size 11.
Wow.
So it's just been a phenomenal success.
No, that's actually awesome. So I just want to digress a little bit and find out more about Craig. What were you doing, and what drew you to helping these kids?
So, for me, I've lived in this region my whole life. I first qualified as a school teacher, as a phys ed school teacher, but I was like a non-running phys ed teacher. One of my students really complained about me the other day. He wrote to me and said, "Listen, you used to make us run all the time as the phys ed teacher." He didn't know I was a fake. I was a non-runner, and so he said, "He's so glad to see me also running now," which is great. So I was qualified as a phys ed teacher, and I gave my life to the Lord at that stage of my life. This Saturday, for example, I'm running in Alex. My first job, I was working in Alex, doing training, adult education at a centre in Alex. So this Saturday to run Alex and run the 10Ks in Alex is going to be fantastic. It's back to where I used to work. And so I worked there, but became a Christian, but I've always tried to live my faith on my sleeve and in the streets and wherever I find myself. So worked in a local ministry for many years, worked in schools. My motto really is, if I walk into a situation, how can I serve you? And I walked into a university the one day, said to the university, how can I serve you? And ended up heading up all their community engagement work, doing incredible stuff with amazing students. So I love working with young people that have a passion for social justice, to see our society different. And so anything like that, I just throw myself fully into it. Unbelievably to many people, even running.
No, it's actually very interesting because Le Connect is it's teething stages. You're actually our second podcast member, and prior to you we had Sheldon Detchell, and the common denominator that I see coming up is that he's also religious, and his aspect is that him as a believer, that's changed where he currently is, and it's coming up yet again. So it's very nice. I don't want to say that Le Connect is going to be a Christian-based movement, because we want to cover everybody.
Yeah.
But awesome what you're saying.
I agree with that 100%. The amazing thing is that my approach to everybody is every one of us have incredible riches within us. And I never ask somebody what they believe. I look at the beauty and the amazing aspects they have and say, how do we augment that? How do we encourage you to do the best and to be the best you can be? And if we approach life like that, entire society is different. So when you look at these amazing young guys here filming and setting up this whole podcast here, they're young people that are going to change the world far more than you and I ever will.
Definitely.
But they do need our encouragement. They need us to come alongside them and say, you guys are amazing. And there'll be things that they will do far better than we've ever done. And the things they're going to actually need you to come in and say, listen guys, when you do it like this. And so we have a vision for a multi-generational movement of people, whether it be Le Connect, CDR Equipping, which stands for Community Development, Resourcing and Equipping, whether it be Run, Walk for Life. How do we allow all this to change our societies? The Love Cities people, I mean, if you look at Howick had Woonga addicts at the falls, and some people said at Howick, this can't be like this. This is a tourist attraction, let's change it. And Howick has turned around by people like you and me and like you young guys coming together and saying, our city won't be like this. And Howick has changed because we took it. So how does Eldorado Park change? Sheldon, with all of us, and Cleet and all those guys, changing Eldorado Park. I've been there playing action cricket with kids on the fields. maybe looking at our ages, maybe Sheldon might have been one of those kids that was at Action Mini Cricket with me there. But now together, the whole place could change. And I think that's my dream for South Africa. But I'm simply saying, I want to start where I am. I want to use what I have, and I want to do what I can.
No, that's awesome. I mean, it would be great if more and more people could think that way. I don't want to, just the thought of heading into the political side. Just have some of that in mind, guys. And yes, we can change the country that we live in. We have a stunning country. We just need to apply ourselves and change the little things that will make a massive difference.
Definitely.
So, is there anything else you'd like to tell us about what you're doing and the shoes, where they're available, that type of thing?
So, if people would like the shoes, so let's say you're from a community and you raise funds for one pair of shoes, or for 100 pair of shoes, or for 30 pairs of shoes, wherever you are in South Africa. The beautiful thing with this is if you write to me on email, my email address is available. If you write to me, if you contact me on my cell phone number, message me with all those things, I would give you the contacts, but you're welcome to use CDR as a vehicle. Mm-hmm. So what you can do is simply say, I need 10 pairs, I'll send you the order sheet, I will then mobilize it and get it to you. You can go directly to My Walk. They are fantastic. They deliver anywhere in the country.
Wow.
At no extra cost to you. They've got people sponsoring that, and you need to have at least 30 pairs that you're ordering for them to deliver. So I can introduce you to Delani and Jabu and the team there. They're awesome. They do great work. So I'll introduce you, and you could deal directly with them, or you can work through me. I don't mind. The other thing that I'd like to invite people to, as we've been talking, young people have a vision for this type of thing. And I've worked in higher education at multiple higher education institutions. So in July, just an alert, in July, on the 18th, and more information will go out on this fairly soon, but we're going to have 2 runs in the region, one here in Reimsig at the Emirates campus here, and one in Pietermaritzburg. 2 runs with hundreds of people raising funds for thousands of pairs of shoes. This first run is me just doing it. And I've got a few people already saying, I'm doing it with you. But we want in July there to be hundreds of people running in our region and running for those shoes. And then hopefully that will become a movement that happens all across the country every year, because we need shoes every year.
That is awesome. The thing is, we need more of what you envisioned. That's going to help our up and coming kids, especially at school.
Yeah.
Because I've realized that if you start off at the bottom level and you enrich these kids, they will become something.
Yeah.
And by a simple thing as affording them the privilege to have shoes will probably change how they think, their mindsets. And I hope that when they get older, they can remember that you clothed them basically, or gave them shoes, that they can hand it forward and make a difference in this world.
And I think the tagline that's come up with this whole, so I'm running so other children can walk, but they're walking into greatness. They're walking into greatness. And all of us on this podcast can be part of thousands of children walking into greatness.
No, that's awesome. So is there anything else you'd like to let people know? Or can I say that what we would do is, I know there's a flyer that you have, also your contact details, which will be flighted on this podcast, and people are happy to contact you and chat to you and see how they can assist in making this a success. So is there anything else from your side that you'd like to elaborate on?
I think that's great. let's focus on that. I just want to pray that I finish. That's all. Can you imagine? I don't.
No, I know it's a tough race. The 56 is quite a challenge. I haven't run that distance, but I have cycled. I think I've done it 10 times. So you've got a challenge on.
Yeah, no, I have. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be absolutely awesome. But yeah, thank you so much. I just so appreciate you having me on. And I trust that there'll be lots more connection points.
Most definitely. And if we can help in any way, I am there, especially the kids. If we can help the kids and in changing their mindsets from a young level or young age, when it's changed there, it makes a massive difference. Because one of the things is like, I'm dyslexic, and I found that when I was at school, I would always hide. So I've been playing hide and go seek all my life. And now it's like, why? And I've just realized that there's so many kids out there that have it and hide.
Yeah.
Stop hiding and come out and be seen. And let me just say that I know when I was at school, people would say, oh, you're stupid. Now I'm not stupid. I just thought differently.
Look, I was the kid at school that would bunk when it was cross-country day. And so all my friends at school can't believe it's the same person. But you know what? The change is I have a purpose.
Yes.
My purpose is health, and my purpose is how do I use what I've got? It's like a kid was with a bunch of, they say about 5,000 people at least, and there was no food. And I guarantee you there must have been other people in that crowd that actually had food, but they were hiding it in their pockets, keeping it for themselves. One kid said, I've got a few loaves, a few fishes. Lord, do you want it? So my few loaves and fishes is my limited running ability, very limited, but I'm just giving it and saying, God, won't you multiply that which I've got so that thousands could be touched? And he did. And he did. So my message to people is take what you've got. And when you give it away, it's going to multiply. And that's what I see in your company. That's how I see how you guys function. So very exciting. Thank you.
So awesome. So Craig, once again, thanks for being on our podcast. And we will do our utmost to get the word out there, to get people to follow your cause and help those kids that don't have shoes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, guys.